Day 2 of Bahrain pre-season testing gave us a very different picture from Day 1. Charles Leclerc put Ferrari on top of the times with a 1:34.273 on soft tyres, beating world champion Lando Norris by just over half a second. But while Leclerc took P1 on the timing screens, it was Norris who turned himself into an absolute mileage monster. 149 laps, more than anyone else on the circuit today. Behind them, Mercedes lived through a genuine power unit scare. Red Bull's Isack Hadjar had a hydraulic problem. Alpine caused yet another red flag, and Haas, Williams and Racing Bulls quietly stacked up some very useful data. So what actually matters from Day 2 in Bahrain? Let's break it down.
Ferrari will be very happy with how Day 2 unfolded. Charles Leclerc went fastest of all with a 1:34.273 early in the morning session on soft tyres, and that lap simply never got beaten. It put him 0.511 seconds clear of Lando Norris's McLaren, which was running on the medium compound when it set its best time. Leclerc also backed that up with 139 laps, the second highest mileage of the day, only behind Norris himself. Fastest lap plus strong mileage is exactly the combination you want from a pre-season test day. The Ferrari SF26 looked stable, Leclerc looked comfortable, and there was no sign of the kind of messy stop-start running that has sometimes plagued Ferrari in testing. It is still only testing, and fuel loads and engine modes are a complete mystery. But as a single-day snapshot, this was a very strong statement from Leclerc and Ferrari.
If Day 1 belonged to Norris on paper, Day 2 belongs to Norris in the long-run column. He ended Day 2 second fastest with a 1:34.784, but the real number is this: 149 laps of Bahrain International Circuit. That is nearly 3 race distances in one day. While Leclerc took the top spot on the timing sheet, Norris and McLaren focused heavily on long-run programs, especially in the afternoon session. That is why his best time also came in the morning, before the teams switched to heavier fuel and race-style runs later on. McLaren leave Day 2 with a car that has now shown strong pace on both days and the highest total mileage of any team so far in this test. For a world champion preparing to defend his title in 2026, this is exactly the kind of day you want. Not a glory run, but a massive bank of data. Behind Leclerc and Norris, 2 British drivers had very different days. For Oliver Bearman at Haas, this was another quietly impressive performance. He finished third fastest with a 1:35.394 and logged 130 laps in the VF26. For a team like Haas, that is an excellent combination of pace and mileage, and for Bearman personally, it is exactly the kind of day that helps build his case in Formula One. At Mercedes, the story was much more complicated. In the morning, Andrea Kimi Antonelli completed just 3 laps before a power unit issue ruled him out for the rest of the session. For a works Mercedes team that is already under heavy scrutiny over its 2026 power unit, this was the last thing they needed. The mood improved in the afternoon as George Russell finally got some proper running. He climbed to 4th on the timesheet with a 1:35.466, only 0.072 seconds behind Bearman, and completed 54 laps, just 3 short of a full Bahrain race distance. Russell and Bearman were swapping positions all afternoon as they traded lap times, creating one of the few genuine on-track storylines of Day 2. For Mercedes, the headline is simple: the W17 still looks like a work in progress.
and the power unit scare with Antonelli will keep a few people at Brackley and Brixworth awake tonight.
The other big storyline of winter so far has been Red Bull. After Max Verstappen's huge mileage on day one, it was Isack Hadjar's turn to drive the RB22 on day two. His morning, however, lasted exactly one lap. A hydraulic leak forced Red Bull to park the car, and Hadjar's session was effectively over. That is a frustrating way to start your proper pre-season running. In the afternoon, Red Bull recovered some ground. Hadjar went on to set the fifth fastest time with a 1:36.561 and completed 87 laps in total. On the raw timesheets, that left him and the rest of the field at least 2 seconds off Leclerc. Again, test conditions make direct comparisons tricky, but it does show that Red Bull were nowhere near a full performance run today. At Alpine, the problems are becoming a worrying pattern. Pierre Gasly's car stopped at turn 1, causing yet another red flag, Alpine's third since the Barcelona shakedown. Gasly still managed 97 laps and the 7th fastest time with a 1:36.723, but the repeated stoppages suggest that Alpine are still chasing reliability gremlins.
Away from the headline teams, Day 2 was all about mileage for the midfield and new projects. At Racing Bulls, Arvid Lindblad and Liam Lawson shared the VCarb 031. Lindblad completed 83 laps with a best of 1:37.470, while Lawson added 50 laps with a 1:38.017. For a rookie like Lindblad, that kind of lap count is far more important than the headline time. Williams continued their recovery after missing the Barcelona shakedown. Alex Albon did 62 laps with a best of 1:37.229, and Sainz ran 69 laps with a 1:37.952. That gave Williams 131 laps in total, putting them right up there in the team mileage charts. At Aston Martin, Alonso had a busier day than Lance Stroll managed on day 1. Alonso completed 98 laps and set a 1:38.248. Not especially impressive on pace, but at least Aston Martin and Honda got through a full day of running. For Audi, Gabriele Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg split driving duties in the R26. Bortoleto did 67 laps with a 1:36.670, while Hülkenberg added 47 laps and a 1:37.266. In total, Audi reached 114 laps, a solid figure for a car that is still very much in an early development phase. Cadillac also ticked over, with Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez sharing the car. Bottas did 67 laps with a 1:36.824 and Perez 42 laps with a 1:38.653, bringing Cadillac to 109 laps overall. If you look at the team mileage table for Day 2, McLaren are on top, with Ferrari in second, followed by Racing Bulls, Williams, Haas, Audi, and then Cadillac as the last team to reach triple-digit laps.
The afternoon session was also shaped by 3 red flags. The first came when Valtteri Bottas lost part of his Cadillac's right-hand mirror, which flew off and nearly hit Carlos Sainz's Williams. The debris on track forced a stoppage of around 10 minutes. Shortly afterwards, Pierre Gasly's Alpine stopped at turn 1, triggering another red flag. Late in the day, a third red flag was shown purely to test the race control procedure. Red flags are not unusual in testing, but the pattern is interesting. Alpine have now been involved in 3 separate stoppages since Barcelona. It reinforces the theme of this winter so far. For some teams, 2026 is starting with more questions about reliability than about pace. So, what can we actually say after day 2 of Bahrain testing? Ferrari and Charles Leclerc finally have a day where they can legitimately say they looked like the class of the field. Lando Norris and McLaren continue to look extremely healthy, combining solid pace with monstrous mileage. Haas and Oliver Bearman are quietly putting together a very respectable test. Mercedes are still under pressure, with a power unit scare and a car that does not yet scream dominance, even if Russell's afternoon was respectable. Red Bull and Alpine both had headaches, even if Hadjar's recovery run salvaged something for the RB22. But we are still in pre-season. Fuel loads, engine modes, tyre compounds and run plans are all over the place. Day 2 gives us more clues, not answers. If you want the full picture of how the 2026 pecking order is forming, make sure you're subscribed. We'll be back after day 3 and then with a full Bahrain testing explained once all the data is in.